Voting is a civic duty. Let's register on the electoral list. This is a message from Equinoxe Television.
(6 p.m. in Kalfu, Mayudanai Division, Far North region of Cameroon. Same time right here in Douala. Good evening, dear viewers of Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. First, our top stories. In a bold show of solidarity, lawyers across Cameroon have embarked on a 3-day strike action by refusing to don their iconic robes and boycotting court sessions in a protest of the persistent maltreatment and brutality they face in the hands of the country's law enforcement agents. Our newsroom took keen interest in the case of barrister Gilbert Ngao, who in a video had his hands handcuffed and equally molested by security elements. Away from that, to tell you how Douala chokes in filth, overwhelmed by trash. Residents and businesses suffer as waste management crisis deepens for weeks. The unusual bustling streets of Douala have been transformed into a massive refuse site with towering piles of waste abandoned in neighborhoods across the city. The putrid smell hangs heavy in the air, taking a devastating toll on the health and livelihoods of residents and business owners alike. Our reporter will be taking us to some areas where this filth can be found. Those are top stories. Stay with us for greater details. Once more, good evening and thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe Television. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. A 21-year-old girl has allegedly died of food poisoning in Douala. It is a neighborhood in the Mongo Division, Douala region of Cameroon. The food was equally consumed by her father and younger sister, who both experienced a malaise and were rushed to the Saint Jean de Malte Hospital in Jombe. This has left Mirabel's family and the entire neighborhood in a state of distress. Ese Lucilengo has more.
Shock and dismay hits a family in Jombe Penja, Mongo Division, Littoral region, following a tragic food poisoning incident that claims the life of 21-year-old Mirabel. Mirabel's mother, heartbroken and devastated, explains. Early in the morning, I asked my daughter Mirabel to warm the food we had eaten the previous day. She served her younger sister and father. Each of them ate before leaving for school and work respectively. Unexpectedly, I received a call from my neighbor that Mirabel collapsed on her way to school. Before she could be rushed to the hospital, she died. The younger sister also collapsed while in school and was rushed to the emergency room.
They send me, they call my man where my man already chopped him too.
According to Dr. Niwo Emmanuel, a medic at Saint Jean de Malte Hospital in Jombe, where the victims are receiving treatment, the signs and symptoms presented along with the response to treatment indicate intoxication. This tragic incident is a bitter pill for the family and authorities. Many suspect a foul play.
C'est vraiment un choc pour la municipalité et un très mauvais image parce qu'on ne pense pas qu'un enfant à 21 ans peut partir brusquement comme ça.
Investigations are ongoing while the body of the 21-year-old Mirabel is at the Saint Jean de Malte Hospital morgue. Her father and sister are receiving treatment in the same hospital.
Now we talk something else. Inhabitants of Malfor, Bonadikombo and those of Wututu, villages in the Fako division, say that the absence of energy supply in different localities has led to an increase in crime wave. Pupils as well as students are finding it difficult to study at night. They are calling on the company in charge of the distribution of energy to come to their rescue as businesses are gradually shutting down. Smagic and Gabriel takes us to this neighborhood.
Old yogurt returned to the cellar. Electronic repairers unable to work alongside seamstress who are unable to keep to their words as promised to their customers. These are just few of the challenges that inhabitants of Quarter 10, 11, 12 and 13 of Mile 4 Bonadikombo are facing as a result of lack of electricity.
For almost a month now, we don't have lights. And a lot of challenges we face from our customers because of light issue. We have women's that is upcoming. I have a lot of fabrics to sew, but now I don't have the means to. Look, I'm now sitting without working.
I cannot sell. I don't know how I can even feed my family because I'm a widow. See, everywhere is down. Even phone, I cannot even call somebody because I'm not connected. So we are really dying. We are dying.
Many have discarded their food stocked in refrigerators too.
Now fridge this.
This is a fridge that was stocked last year, and we were hoping to feed from there till the end of this year. But because of the lack of electricity, everything is bad. Worst of it is that the authorities in place don't care about us. At Wotutu village, still within Fako, it is the same scenario as welders who came to work find themselves idling around their job sites because of no power supply.
A section of Wotutu, and my workshop happened to be in that section where we have a transformer problem. So we are pleading that they should look into the situation so that we can proceed with our work. As they do say, an idle man is a devil workshop.
A seller in a coal store regrets the huge loss they have incurred. Just like in Mile 4 Bonadikombo and Wotutu village, the inhabitants have been for over 4 months in darkness, and this has critically affected even pupils and students who can study at night.
Now to one of our major lead stories. Several parts of the city of Douala now stink as a result of the huge piles of dirt dumped in most neighborhoods. Residents are furious, pointing accusatory fingers at the waste management company for its glaring inefficiency. Fami Armstrong Sanda tells us more.
Our journey began with this unusual scene of bike riders, pedestrians and car owners scrambling for passage here at the Total Besenge neighborhood in the Douala 1 municipality. The waste has been here for about 3 weeks, and local inhabitants like roadside vendors say hell is let loose.
It's taking too much space. Smelling, we cannot even breathe. When customers are passing, they cannot stop because of the odors. There's too much traffic jam from it. When the bike are passing, sometimes the customers behind them are falling. I don't know how other people are managing themselves. But me, I just put my own face mask and be selling my work.
You know, I had to lean closer to the walls and very close to the stockpile because the road has been made narrow by the increasing pile of domestic waste here. It is a nightmare for inhabitants and kids who have to cross through these difficulties to school every day. The health impact is devastating. Businesses are no longer functioning on a normal pace at this level. These and many others are the challenges faced by the people of Besenge. They say for close to 1 month, the company in charge of disposing waste has not passed by this neighborhood. Over at Bebe Sheri in the Ndogbong neighborhood of the Douala 5 municipality, the story is the same, that of suffering, odor, and helplessness. The main road linking Ndogbong to Makepe Misoke of the same subdivision is almost completely cut off by the huge pile of household waste dumped by local inhabitants, despite the presence of a warning signboard from the Douala City Council. And our long journey ended here at the second major entrance into Campus 1 of the University of Douala. Students here say it feels like hellfire studying in a dirty environment. Businesses have collapsed.
It is really smelly. We cannot have customers here. Customers come here, they have to run away because of the dirt that is there. You see the roofages. People come here, they run away, they say they cannot stay here. We pay hygiene sanitation tax. The sanitation tax they pay to Isaka to come and do it. We pay automatic. We pay all the taxes here. We don't owe anybody. But we are not able to have what we want. Before, people were having their restaurants there. The place was very clean. They came and removed everybody here. When they removed the people that were at that gate, that's when they started throwing these roof ridges.
Sad indeed. Douala City Dollar say. Reporting from Anche Raphael in the Douala 5 municipality. For me, I'm Sean Sander, the last channel for Equinoxe.
An economical capital, indeed. Administrative authorities of the West region have ordered for the destruction of a temporary bridge which was erected at the Chang Cliff by the local population. The senior divisional officer for the Menua division says the bridge puts the lives of road users at risk, while the road users on their own part say it is their own initiative to ease movement along the Chang-Sancho stretch. Anna Bilalike has more.
Inhabitants of La Falaise de Chang and its environs are angry over the destruction of a makeshift bridge they erected to permit them travel to and from Chang, Sancho, Bamenda and other neighboring localities. Since the landslide which killed several persons months back, the people here complain traveling has been daunting and transportation costs have doubled. Reason, they thought it wise to erect a bridge which could link the various localities and reduce the physical stress and financial burden off their shoulders.
De santé à Sancho. Pour qu'on déplace le malade là-bas, c'est combien? On va passer par où? Ça, ce sont nos moyens de bord.
At the time they thought their misery was over, the SDO for the Menua made a stopover at the Chang Cliff.
Nous n'allons pas vous laisser se suicider, parce que nous avons besoin de vous.
Itu Mbongo instructed that the temporary bridge be destroyed. According to him, it is to protect the lives of the local population.
Le jour de la malchance, c'est le jour de la malchance. Vous comprenez? N'acceptez plus. C'est comme si you take poison and you drink, you say who will die.
For now, the people of the Menua division, Sancho and its environs will have to wait for the construction of a new bridge by the government at the Chang Cliff. They are uncertain when the promises made by the government will be fulfilled.
Tous les corps qui sont morts ici là, le gouvernement n'a pas tout trouvé. Voilà les corps là-bas dedans.
Meantime, the governor of the West region as well has prohibited any movement of vehicles along the Chang Hill. Road users going to Chang, Buda and Bamenda or to the littoral must use the Melon Kekem Bafang-Bafsam stretch.
Staff Lady Annabella reporting there. A trade dispute has erupted in Cameroon's far north region, specifically between Mulvudaye and Kalfu, which are two subdivisions that have enjoyed peaceful coexistence for decades. The bone of contention is a simultaneous opening of a livestock market in Kalfu, which coincided with the launch of a similar market in Mulvudaye. Latest development on this dispute with Seri Chakutio.
Il faut que les gouvernements descendent sur le terrain, sinon là, rien ne peut passer ici. On est fatigué.
Residents of Mulvudaye and Kalifu have been living together peacefully for over a half-century, but in the space of 72 hours, this harmony has been destabilized, causing serious tensions between the two neighboring subdivisions of the far north region of Cameroon. Those who come to sell their ox are the Chadians, but they also complain of some difficulties they face at the border.
Leur bétail dans la terre Mulvudaye, c'est un problème parce que la police
It is a problem because the police, the gendarmes, at times ask them to pay before crossing.
On les oblige de payer peut-être 10 000. Il y a de cela une semaine, les jeunes...
A week ago, the young people manifested because they didn't have anything other.
Économique où chacun parvient à joindre le deux bouts parce que...
It is the only available market around where everyone manages to do some trade because getting a job is really difficult.
Très inaccessible.
This situation arose after the non-respect of the market day. The inhabitants of Mulvudaye see this as a form of betrayal, believing that Kalifu inhabitants should have mentioned its traditional market day. I have been selling my cattle in this market for the past 50 years every Friday. However, our neighbors in Kalifu decided to open the same market on a Friday, whereas their usual day is on a Monday.
Alors que leur jour habituel est le lundi.
This opening on Friday got us on our nerves. We are asking for help from the government. Both localities.
And we stay in northern Cameroon, which is currently grappling with persistent security challenges, and the primary concern for both authorities and local population is a threat posed by highway robbers and kidnappers. The insecurity underscores the limitations of Cameroon's security policy, particularly in terms of border management and cross-border area. To address this issue, the National Gendarmerie has launched an operation known as ADANO, aimed at combating the growing insecurity in the region. Seri Chakutu reports.
Northern Cameroon faces persistent insecurity stemming mostly from highway robbery and kidnapping for ransom. To fight against this phenomenon, the National Gendarmerie launched the 13th phase of Operation Adano, which, according to Brigadier General Loubazel Pierre, will put an end to these activities.
To date, I can say that the result of this important operation are very, very encouraging, because the global security situation is under control. Even if we still observe here and there, especially in the Benue and the Mayotte division, pocket of resistance of the phenomenon of kidnapping.
The Brigadier General, commander of the 3rd Gendarmerie region, reassured the population about the ability of his elements to reduce kidnappings and demands for ransom.
We took advantage of our meeting of this morning to evaluate the situation going on the field, and we took necessary measures to improve the security situation so that the population in the Adamawa region and in the North region can peacefully go to the daily occupation. So we are engaged to take all necessary measures to make sure that the population of those important regions can peacefully go to daily occupation.
This operation aims to strengthen security in the North and Adamawa regions, where crimes have gained ground in recent years.
Now to our top story of the day. Lawyers have condemned the maltreatment of their peers by law enforcement officers. They say the violation of their rights and those of every other person has to stop. They are deeply concerned by the increasing trend of violence against legal minds in the country. Babylon Jonathan talked to some of them and compiled the following report for the 6 p.m. primetime newscast.
Lawyers raise grave concerns over increasing human rights violations in Cameroon. Just like every other person, they too are more and more victims of right violation by forces of law and order. They are often maltreated by police and gendarme officers in the discharge of their duties of defending their clients. Barrister Yves Mbadi says,
cela est intolérable et inacceptable.
Such acts are unacceptable. He adds that
que rien ne justifie des actes de barbarie.
Nothing justifies barbaric acts against a human being.
Rien ne justifie que l'on arrive.
Nothing justifies the violation of the honor, dignity, and physical integrity of anyone.
Faire situer les violences exercées à l'égard des avocats.
Barrister Gaston Watu situates the problem within the context of what he calls generalized human rights violation in a tense socio-political atmosphere.
Je pense pas que l'OPJ ou l'APJ,
besides what critics qualify as the overzealousness of some police and gendarme officers, he puts a share of the blame on the poor training of some officers of the forces of law and order in matters of human rights. Barrister Yves Mbadi therefore suggests
la formation approfondie et continue de nos forces de maintien de l'ordre,
the enhancement of human rights training for forces of law and order, and a more cordial collaboration between state institutions and the Cameroon Bar as the solution to the problem.
And we'll be elaborating more on the same topic in the second part of the news. Now to religion. Reverend Father Etienne Bakaba urges Christians of the Roman Catholic Church to register to vote for change in Cameroon during the Ash Wednesday Mass at the St. Peter and Paul's Cathedral on March 5th. He issued a powerful call to action to the hundreds of Christians in attendance as they received the ashes on their foreheads. Mala Gloria attended that Mass and now reports.
One by each, they made their way through the crowd to have the ash drawn on their faces, that which, according to Catholic Christians, represent repentance and purification. and receiving them is a way for Christians to atone for their sins.
A period of 40 days where we try to live in humility, in prayers. We try to give out as much as possible in charity.
Christ is the reason for the season, so it's an opportunity for me to draw back closer to Christ, remember the purpose of my baptism, my faith.
The Ash Wednesday celebrated at the St. Peter and Paul Cathedral in Douala saw the presence of hundreds of Christians ready to wait under the scorching sun to receive the ash. An attitude which, according to Reverend Father Etienne Bakaba, who presided over the Ash Wednesday Mass, should be applicable during enrollment on the electoral list. They should also appear in their huge number to vote in the upcoming elections in Cameroon.
I see today Christians that come to receive, massively to receive the ash in their face. Why the same Christians are not motivated to go and write their name to the electoral list and go and vote? I would like them to have the same attitude concerning election in our country.
The celebration of Ash Wednesday in the life of a Catholic Christian, they say, is the start of the Lent season. And during this period, Christians are expected to fast and pray more.
To celebrate the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ.
The Lenten season is observed by Catholic Christians, but pregnant women, children and sick people.
We have a specific prayer during Lenten period. That prayer is the way of the cross.
Ash Wednesday celebration at the St. Peter and Paul Cathedral permitted some Christians to meet servants of the Lord for special prayers.
Malaglari ending this first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Tonight on Talking Point, we'll be looking at the recent case of violence meted on another legal mine. And my guest tonight is Roland OJONG ASHU. He is a legal mine based right here in the city of Douala. Good evening, Barrister. It's a pleasure to have you on Talking Point tonight.
Good evening, televiewers. It's a pleasure to be here. I've always made this place my home.
Barrister, another case of violence meted on another legal mine in Cameroon. Barrister Gilbert Ngao, in a video circulating online, is seen sitting on the ground, his hands handcuffed, with security elements torturing him and his clients. Can you please provide us details on what happened to Barrister Gilbert in this latest incident?
Well, on the 1st of March, it was like a day we can never experience in the bar. That's why you see me wearing my black dress. A lady colleague was on duty because the client called him on duty and he went there. But unfortunately, the police, as they fall on him, caught him well battered, tortured, and handcuffed. You can see the gruesome images. The images are everywhere. It's barbaric. It's unimaginable for a lawyer to pass through such an inhuman treatment. From those we consider as officers of the law who have to respect and protect the life of citizens. If a lawyer could be humanized, insulted, tortured, publicly in the midst of persons, in presence of persons, this is unacceptable. This is against all human rights. Even when the Cameroon government have signed conventions to that effect, and they have a rule as the government has a duty to protect the life of citizens. And when a police officer is on duty and he sees a lawyer, let him consider that lawyer to be somebody sent by the government to work, because the government has signed international agreements to protect the life of citizens through the use of lawyers. So when a civilian or if somebody is in problem, the government must ensure that he or she is protected by a lawyer. So when a lawyer goes out on the field to execute anything, I don't think it's a police officer seeing a lawyer as an element of an opposite kind is so barbaric. With what our colleague has passed through, it calls for some awareness. The bar is indeed distressed for what has happened.
I clearly watched the video like you did, but one thing I'm still asking myself is what must have provoked such an inhumane treatment? What was the lawyer clamoring for at the time of his arrest?
The police officers were about arresting his clients based on an order from the minister, but he saw that it wasn't that correct. Maybe in the course of confrontation, they did not turn on him because they consider him as an obstacle. But if you go detailedly, you realize that he was merely trying to protect the rights of his clients. But you saw what happened. The police officers on duties bounced on him like a bunch of fools, kicked him off, molested him, and threw him behind the car like a small casket, like a dead human being. It is really heartening. No one could ever imagine that. And to talk about it, that person that they see on that floor is a lawyer, it's above any human apprehension.
In other cases of violence meted on lawyers, the most recent case was that of Barrister Tamfo Richard, who was tortured by security elements in Bonaberry as he tried preventing them from arresting his client. But his case wasn't handled the same way as we are seeing now. What prompted the decision of the Bar Council President, Barrister Eric Ba, to launch the 3-day strike action now?
I must say that it is not just because of this case. We have just decided to say that the series of so many occurrences of injustice and inhuman treatment of lawyers or persons, or the cruel use of means by security forces to apprehend individuals who could not tolerate that. It's not, they did a lot of things in the days of Tamfo, and the procedure is ongoing. You saw how it went. And to us, this particular one was like, after what we just passed of Tamfo, and we're trying to come out from this, you see, cause the same thing? No, there is no way the bar could sit and watch, because the bar has a duty to protect the profession of the lawyers, and that's what they are doing.
And how do you think the strike will impact the administration of justice in Cameroon? What measures will be taken to minimize such disruptions?
Back the administration of justice, we all know that justice without a lawyer, it's a no justice. It is very well known that the government of Cameroon have ratified other international treaties in Cuba, where they uphold the United Nations Human Rights Declarations. The Human Rights Declaration says an individual, a civilian, has a right to a counsel. And even a civilian cannot get a counsel, the government has a duty to provide one for that person. So if the administration of justice can take place, can go on without a lawyer, then that is no justice. And so for just a day without a lawyer being in court to secure the rights of civilians, it's much to the people, to the government, to this country, to the administration. And so I will expect the government to take proper action to make sure that those, I call them criminals, police officers, held accountable and thoroughly suspected and sanctioned.
What are the entire expectations of the entire Bar Council at this moment? Are you convinced that those expectations will be answered?
First, by the lawyers going on strike, they have openly expressed their grievances, and are now calling on the government. What are they calling for the government? That the persons, perpetrators of those acts, should be held accountable. They should be held accountable. Let the public should know that the police officer, who is being paid by the Cameroonian taxpayer tax, is being paid to protect innocent civilians, to protect the public. He is not paid as a terrorist who go around vandalizing, barbarizing against persons. So I believe the government should take proper action. I call on the Delegate General of National Security, whom we consider in power, to take actions, because there's a staff on his face. And I call on the government to consider the kind of persons they recruit as security officers, because sometimes you realize that these guys, they know nothing about the law. They're just being sent on assignment. And another call is for the commissioners of these police stations and the commandants. Before you send an element on a field, give him proper instructions, because what they are doing is going against the rule of engagement. They are not respecting the rule of engagement. So there should be thorough sensitization as well as enlightenment, because many of them are just ignorant. They see a lawyer on the field as an enemy. They see a lawyer before the gendarmerie or a police station as an enemy. A lawyer is not an enemy. A lawyer is acting has spread the law and is acting based on the government's engagement, because the government has ratified many of these treaties. So the government should do everything, because we know what happened in 2016 when the lawyers in Southwest went on strike. What is the consequence till date? Let this not happen, because it's like a time bomb. Something is just to ignite and something will happen. But I pray this government will take all necessary measures to see into it that those police officers who disgrace the code of the police with their uniforms should be totally dismissed and punished. In fact, they have to be in jail. They should know that in Kribi some years ago, police officers, commissioner, have been sentenced 15 years imprisonment. I have them in records. There is what we call the police, a special branch that was created to take care of all police officers who go against the law, the same like you have in said for gender marriage. Nobody is against the law. And no police officer, the law requires them to do what we call reasonable force. In the case where you have to go and arrest somebody, reasonable force means that you must be proportionate. You should not bring force that is against that person's force. But if you go against somebody when they go there, they know that's a lawyer, but they will claim not that they don't know that's a lawyer. Only for when the person goes back to theirs, they say, no, we never knew he's a lawyer. They knew he was a lawyer, and they did that deliberately to destroy and disgrace the integrity, the name of the bar. And so we, as lawyers, we can take that. This error must be corrected. They must be brought to book. That is what the government. We may not force the government, but the government knows that when you touch a lawyer in a community, you touch the rule of law, you touch the justice system, and you touch the governance.
Hoping that the government of Cameroon heed to the calls of lawyers. Barrister Roland OJONG ASHU, a legal mind, that was our guest for tonight. That's it for today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your keen attention. Stay in the company of more interesting programs as Serge Otu and his guests will be coming up soon for the program Equinoxe Soir. From us to you over there, have a wonderful evening.